You know, one of the questions that I first had when I got my truck, and it comes up from time to time, and you see it a lot on the forums, and people interested in new trucks and people that want to either buy a new truck or that have one and are concerned about using it for local traffic and grocery getting, as we call it. And so I thought, you know, that would be something that is worthy of tackling. And so I've been doing a lot of research on it, a lot of reading, a lot of studying. I've even talked to Cummins on it. The EGR valve has one purpose, and really one purpose only. And it's not, like I said, to reburn fuel. It's to cool ignition temperatures on a diesel. As without the EGR, which is better, the EGR is not a good thing, at least it isn't to me. And I've read where it takes about 3% of the efficiency of the engine away. Its sole purpose is to reduce NOx, nitrogen oxide. And it does it by recycling exhaust gas back into the intake manifold and cooling the temperature of the combustion. And from what I've seen, this is where the confusion comes in. I think there's a misconception that the EGR valve closes when you get out on the highway and the engine starts running clean and there's no soot being recycled through the engine or anything like that, but that's really not the case. You can look at the gauges here, particularly on the right hand side, and you can see that the EGR is almost 3/4 open, and that's usually is about as far open as it will go, that 71%, and we're doing 75 miles an hour. So let's look at some local driving and see what the EGR looks like there. Okay, so here we are cruising around the little town of Maurice, Louisiana, where they've got a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, and if you go 41, they'll pull you over and give you a ticket. So I'm sitting here with my cruise control on. I set up my gauges a little bit different. I'm looking at mile per hour and load, and also the amount the EGR is open and boost. But it really doesn't matter, because the point of this view is just to show you that whether you're driving high speeds, slow speeds, it doesn't matter. The EGR is still going to be recycling exhaust gases through the engine, and that's to lower the combustion temperature and lower the NOx. And then when it gets into the exhaust pipe, the DEF fluid is injected, and it breaks it down into what they say is a harmless nitrogen and oxygen mixture. With the strict EPA standards, the EGR is kind of acting like a cruise control. It's just the exhaust manifold is holding enough pressure on the engine to feed that EGR exhaust gas all the time. So the end result is local driving doesn't soot up your engine any more than highway driving. So yeah, if we had our rathers, highway driving would be all we would do. But the only point I'm making here is that local driving is not screwing up your engine. What makes more difference to the engine than local or highway driving is the way you drive it locally. A lot of people will do a lot of idling. They'll do a lot of warming up in the morning, and that does more to contaminate your oil than anything. And that's when you start hearing about people with plugged up DPF filters and those sort of things. Real short local trips, the engine doesn't have time to warm up, and it doesn't have time to do an active regen, which it does very well. Even in town, it's just a seamless operation. I watch it on my gauge just to just because I like to watch gauges, but it's really takes care of itself. The very worst situation you can have for a diesel is idling and very short trips, and I'm talking about long idling. And of course you want to idle your engine when you've been pulling the load, and you want to let your turbo cool down for 5 minutes or so. But more than 5-10 minutes of idling is just not necessary, and your combustion temperatures get down to a point where deposits start building up on your cylinder head and injectors, and it just decreases the longevity of your engine. Cummins and RAM understands that these trucks are not going to be on the highway pulling loads all the time, and they're designed to do that. They're designed to be used locally also. Probably the biggest difference is downstream of the engine, which is the DPF filter. The DPF filter is going to take care of itself. It's going to clean itself out with active regeneration in town versus passive on the highway if you don't have enough exhaust heat. Actually, passive regeneration starts around 392 degrees, which is very low. So you are getting some cleaning effect even while you're running around town. It's just not enough to keep up. But you know, Cummins gives these things a 15,000 mile or 6-month oil change, and that's pretty generous. I'll usually change my oil more often than that if I'm doing nothing but local traffic. But you know, I think the bottom line here is just use your trucks the way you want to use them. They're going to take care of themselves, and they're probably going to outlast each and every one of us, unless you're very young. But anyway, thanks for watching. Adios.